Well, welcome to the parade's first unit is our West Hartford Police Department. The West Hartford Police Department's color guard is led by Lieutenant Eric Rochelot. Following them are Chief of Police Vernon Riddick Jr. and Assistant Chiefs Robert McHugh and Dan Coppinger. West Hartford Crossing Guards. The West Hartford Police Department is marching in honor of police officers Ray Narciso and Peter Kalis, both serving in the Army.
Do it a little bit.
They are escorted by the West Hartford Police Motorcycle Escort. Following immediately behind is our Grand Marshal, John A. Danaher Jr. This year's Grand Marshal, John A. Danaher Jr. is a World War II veteran who fought in the invasion of southern France and was awarded 2 Bronze Stars. Mr. Danaher understands the importance of giving back to your community. In fact, at age 97, Mr. Danaher continues to this day to serve as a volunteer at St. Mary's Home and Hospital, as a pastoral counselor, a compassionate companion for hospice volunteer.
Yes, and coming up behind our honorary assistant parade marshals is U.S. Congressman John B. Larson, representing the 1st Congressional District, State Representatives Joe Varengia, Tammy Exum, and Jillian Gilchrist. State Senator Derek Slapp, representing the 5th Senatorial District, will be in a car coming on up a little bit later. West Hartford Board of Education, Carol Anderson Blanks, Deb Poland, and Dave Kalu. West Hartford Town Council, Mary Sherry Cantor, Leon Davidoff. Town Manager Matt Hart is a veteran of the U.S. Army and U.S. Army National Guard. Members of the Board of Education are honoring Raymond B. Campbell, a Marine killed during the Korean War. Leon Davidoff, a member of the Town Council, is honoring his late father-in-law, Irving Silverstein, who served in World War II during the Liberation and was active as commander of his American Legion post. The Deuce and a Half was introduced in 1950 and was the primary U.S. military truck that served in various capacities. Many National Guard and Reserve units continue to use M35 military trucks still today. In the back of the truck are West Hartford veterans and their families. And coming up in the convertible, we have Senator Derek Slapp with Richard Hennessy. Richard Hennessy was the commander of the American Legion and organizer of this Memorial Day parade for many years.
And here comes our next band, Sedgwick Middle School Band, under the direction of Stephanie Wattell. The band is marching in honor of Chris Bombara, Sedgwick Middle School teacher and U.S. Navy veteran. comes Eric Feeney with his contingent known as Friends of Feeney. They are marching in honor of John Egan Air Force. Eric is a third-grade teacher at Wolcott School who served in the Army National Guard 1996 through 2004 as a combat field medic. And here comes our Friends of Feeney.
Now coming up along behind are the Wreaths Across America. Captain Joe Sanborn and First Lieutenant Stephen Ellis are members of the U.S. Air Force Auxiliary Civil Air Patrol. They are honoring Lance Corporal Larry Philippon. Captain Sanborn is this year's keynote speaker for the Memorial Day ceremony, which occurs immediately after the parade at the Veterans Memorial. Wreaths Across America's mission is to spread the message about the importance of remembering our fallen heroes, honoring those who serve, and teaching our children about the sacrifices made by veterans and their families to preserve our freedoms by laying wreaths at more than 1,600 veterans cemeteries in all 50 U.S. states and at sea and abroad.
I think you're a little ahead.
And here we have, inside of Brookdale Senior Living's van, is veterans from their residential retirement community. Thank you to all those veterans.
Coming up behind is the Rotary Club of West Hartford, honoring Robert Hiley. This is the Rotary Club of West Hartford.
And right behind them are Knights of Columbus, honoring Tech Sergeant 5 John J. O'Connor, who served in the invasion of Normandy, as well as the Battle of the Bulge in World War II. Knights of Columbus, always impressive in their beautiful garb. Those uniforms, so impressive.
Coming up behind them is the Senior Job Bank, honoring Melvin Tubis, American Air Force, World War II, Henry Bolton, U.S. Air Force, and Alvin Diamond, U.S. Army, World War II. Senior Job Bank.
And the Elmwood Community Church honoring Mason Ellison, World War II Navy. Job Bank, who we just spoke about before. Wonder if we'll get some seniors on those unicycles. You never know.
Memorial Day.
30 military jets. And now we have Hall High School. Off in the distance. Hall High School band under the direction of James Antonucci.
Hartford, none can beat them. They're all amazing, both Hull and Conard.
It's true. Off to the side we have Probus, which is selling balloons. They're a non-profit organization that helps people with developmental disabilities. And I think I saw our former probate court judge, Sid Elkin, out here as part of Probus just a few minutes ago.
He devotes all his time as an amazing volunteer to all these special organizations. Lots of Girl Scouts there. They create in honor of this special day.
Amazing.
And right behind Walcott, we will see the Webster Hill School troops.
Yes, we have Webster Hill 10400. Followed by, let's see, the Screen Banner. I love it with the pink daisies.
And then Troop 10481.
A rainbow and a sun, the Girl Scout logo. That's wonderful.
I love all their stars in honor of Memorial Day.
10-4.
Here we go, Bugby.
483.
And the Bugby girls are coming. And now followed by Duffy School Troop 10427 and Duffy School Troop
10428.
Duffy School Troops are honoring Roger Fassett and honoring Jason Cooley.
Great. Duffy Elementary. Troops 10416 and 10429 from Duffy. 10:42.
We're walking off Cambridge.
And we have Charter Oak Academy troops coming down the street now, and they will be followed shortly by the Smith School troops. The Smith School troop is honoring Lance Corporal Larry Philippon.
Oh, this is Aiken, our Aiken School.
And Aiken School.
10:463.
And they're honoring Tom Prestiani.
And this says Norfolk, Troop 1044. Honoring Norman Book. And we Norfolk, 1046.
So many more troops from our schools.
10:434. That must have been Morley coming up here. Just right by us. Hello, Morley. Whiting Lane, Troop 10:434, honoring Harold Argentina.
And St. Thomas, the Apostle troop, was in there honoring Joe Greco. And Troop 10459 was representing cadets, seniors, and ambassadors from Bristow, King Philip, Sedgwick Middle Schools, and they are honoring Henry Bolton.
Right now we have the Boy Scouts. This is Boy Scouts of America. Boy Scouts.
Troop 44.
Oh, this is the Cub Scout pack from Duffy, 161, honoring the 2nd Lieutenant Robert Sinclair.
You just missed 44.
And behind Webster Hill, pack 141. And pack 148, moving on up.
And Pack 148 is honoring Donald Rieger Sr. Followed immediately by Bugby School Cub Scout Pack 145, honoring Philip C.S. Schiller. Philip C.S. Schiller being honored by this group.
Janella, I'm not gonna lie, that was a little depressing. Only 44, Troop 44 was the only troop marching.
So we have King Philip Middle School Band coming on up under the direction of Joe Dancy. All right, they are honoring Jim Calley, Morgan Rooker, Ira Sandberg, Joseph Brody, Al Rosenfield, Paul Vacinis, Art Yepes, Tom LaPointe, Nick Alvaski, Adam Alvaski, Egypt Oliver, and Vincent Sullivan. Here they come.
It's wonderful watching all the people on the side as they're clapping along with this fabulous music that we're getting.
C-130 inbound.
wonderful inspiration has lifted these skilled musicians to high levels. Hartford Little League teams. West Hartford Little League is honoring Army Captain James Gadarowski. And these Little Leaguers start real little. They're not messing around. We're starting with some serious Hall of Famers at a young age now, aren't we?
We sure are. They all have West Hartford on their hats.
No matter what the team, the WH hits their heads.
That's right.
They know they're from West Hartford. And each of these teams is sponsored by a wonderful business in our community. Oh, and now we see those Little League teams growing up. Little by little, we're getting big, guys. And here come the Spirited Rangers of West Hartford. The Little League Reds and Royals and Padres coming up right behind them. Followed by the Giants. And our little Phillies.
The
Mets, team after my heart.
Orioles, Rays, Rangers.
The Little League Angels, followed by the Braves.
And the Dodgers. The Orioles.
And here come the Pirates. Followed by the Rockies, who have a four-legged teammate, obviously. With some more Pirates.
More Pirates. The Twins. Followed by the A's.
And as they age up, the skill level goes up. These teams play some great baseball.
The Dodgers, I don't know if you said that, the Mariners.
Marlins. The Marlins.
The Marlins. Phillies. Twins.
Here come the White Sox. And now,
here we have Bronx Martial Arts honoring Lieutenant Commander Louis Luba.
look at them go. They are really serious and really good at what they do.
Behind them is Socceropolis, honoring all the members of the 2nd Battalion, 6th Marines.
Followed by Valari's Martial Arts, honoring Jeffrey Meehan. Here comes Valari's.
Followed by the Conard High School marching band under the direction of Scott Porter.
And now we see the West Hartford Girls Lacrosse, honoring Edward Salisbury Dana, a fighter pilot in the Korean War, and Staff Sergeant Sylvan A. Blake Jr., who fought in the Iraq War, as well as Sergeant Felix Del Greco.
I like that, raising our sticks to remember and honor all of those who served.
Beautiful banner, well thought out.
Behind them, here comes West Hartford Girls Soccer League, honoring Paul Glover, who was instrumental in West Hartford soccer leagues.
Look at all those fabulous young soccer players. I see World Cups in their future.
Here we have West Hartford Youth Football, honoring Aldo Gandolfini. Followed by West Hartford Youth Baseball, honoring Ken Mungerford, 11-year-old state champion.
And here comes the West Hartford Girls Softball, honoring Lieutenant Gordon H. Sterling, for whom Sterling Field is named.
Sterling Field is where any of the youth games are played.
Right down the road from where the parade is happening right now.
Following up, we got Evans Place, Locksmith Center, all the teams from the Girls Softball League.
Wonderful community sponsors, thank you all.
The Red Sox, the Rockies, Athletics.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, folks. My name is Matt Hart. I'm very proud to be West Hartford's town manager and the MC of our ceremony in commemoration today. So on behalf of the town, I would like to welcome you to today's Memorial Day commemoration. We have a very, very special ceremony planned for you today, featuring a dynamic guest speaker and a very, very important dedication. Before I go any further, I would like to recognize our town council and our other elected officials in attendance. If folks just want to raise your hand when I call your name. We have our mayor, Sherry Cantor, our deputy mayor, Beth Kerrigan, our public safety committee chairman, Leon Davidoff. We have Councilor Dallas Dodge, Councilor Ben Wennegrad, Councilor Liam Sweeney. We also have Council Member Christopher Barnes and Council Member Christopher Williams. We have our state delegation in attendance as well. Senator Derek Slapp, Representative Joe Varenja, Representative Jillian Gilchrist, and Representative Tammy Exum. In addition, we are fortunate to have many of our Board of Education members here with us today, too. I would also like to introduce our color guard. The West Hartford Police Department today is led by Lieutenant Eric Rochelot, and our fire department is led by firefighter Ryan Shea. And the American Legion, Post 96, is led by Commander Rock Goodwin today. In addition, I would like to thank the members of the West Hartford Commission on Veterans Affairs and the members of the American Legion. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Edelman, who marched with us here today. We have Commander Jeff Cole and Mo Fredette, who is so essential to planning so many of our veterans events in town. I would also like to thank the very hardworking Renee McHugh, our public relations specialist for the town, who helped plan today's ceremony. And last, but certainly not least, I'd like to thank all of my fellow veterans who are in attendance today. Thank you for your service. It means so much to us. You'll notice my voice cracked a bit there. That does happen from time to time. So we are now going to place our memorial wreath, and that will be Mayor Sherry Cantor and our Grand Marshal, John A. Danaher, Jr. And let me tell you a few things about Mr. Danaher first. So Mr. Danaher has had quite a fabulous career. He enlisted in the Army in 1942, and he rose through the ranks to the rank of captain. He fought in the invasion of southern France and was awarded 2 Bronze Stars, and he was honorably discharged in 1947. From 1947 to 1975, he worked for the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI, as a street agent and as an instructor. He was then president of Danaher Investigations Incorporated, which was a private detective agency specializing in civil, criminal, and liability issues. Mr. Danaher is a longtime member of the West Hartford community. He certainly understands the importance of community service and giving back. In fact, at age 97, he is still very active to this day as a volunteer at St. Mary's Home and Hospital as a pastoral counselor, a hospice volunteer, and a Eucharistic minister. How about a big hand for Mr. Danaher? Now our color guard. Bring your units to attention. and present arms. If folks in the viewing stand could please stand. Mayor, Mr. Danaher.
Detail! Archer! Hook! Present! Arm!
Now we will hear from Ms. Stephanie Runing-Shearer, who's a sophomore at Conard High School, who will sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Wonderful job, Stephanie. Thank you so much. Color Guard, order arms. I would now like to ask Reverend Dana Lee Hallenbeck to come and give today's invocation. Reverend Hallenbeck, who is presently the chaplain for the Connecticut State Police, he has a very special connection to West Hartford. He's a lifelong resident who served our town as a police officer for 20 years. Decided, that just wasn't enough, and decided to serve as our Director of Public Works for another 15 years. He was ordained in 2005 and has served as pastor of the Zion Lutheran Church until 2017. Please welcome Reverend Hallenbeck.
Mr. Danaher, I don't know if you remember, when I joined the West Hartford Police Department back in 1973, you taught me firearms back at the academy. And thank you for your service then, and thank you for your service to this country, and thank you for your service now. With grateful hearts and minds on this Memorial Day, we thank you, Lord, for the men and women who gave their lives in service of our country. They died honorably, protecting the life and liberty of so many others. Lord, make us appreciative of the blessings we enjoy as Americans and the lives which were given that we might live in peace in this land. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Folks may please be seated. I'd now like to introduce our keynote speaker, Captain Joseph Sanborn. Captain Sanborn is a West Hartford resident, and he's Connecticut's logistics coordinator for Wreaths Across America. He has been a member of the United States Air Force Auxiliary Civil Air Patrol since June of 2012. The goal of Wreaths Across America is to spread the message about the importance of remembering our fallen heroes, honoring those who serve, and teaching our children about the sacrifices made by veterans and their families to preserve our freedoms by laying wreaths at more than 1,600 veteran ceremonies in all 50 U.S. states, at sea and abroad. So let's please give a warm welcome to Captain Sanborn.
For the kind introduction. To our active duty service members, our veterans, military families, distinguished guests, and friends, thank you for being here today. It's a most humbling honor to stand in front of you and speak about something I hold so dearly, remembering the sacrifices of our nation's fallen heroes. Our intended speakers for today are not able to join us, so they asked me to say a few words in their absence. West Hartford's Gold Star parents, Lisa and Ray Philippon, could not be present today in West Hartford. Instead, they're honoring the memory and service of West Hartford's local hero, United States Marine Corps Lance Corporal Lawrence Robert Philippon, elsewhere today. Today I speak on behalf of Larry. I speak the words that I feel Larry would expect of me, and it's the least that I can do for a hometown hero like Larry Philippon. These days, there's a lot of talk regarding the rights and wrongs of Memorial Day activities. Barbecues not being appropriate, or Memorial Day isn't just a day off. While that's true, our veterans and families don't want you to beat yourself up over the head with it. Please enjoy your day. Enjoy the extra time spent with family and friends. Enjoy your backyard barbecue, or however you decide to spend your day. But I ask you this. Please don't forget why we have the freedom to decide our own destinies. This is why we gather here to honor our veterans, the few who are willing to give of themselves to defend their brothers and sisters and their country. But there's a difference about today. Memorial Day isn't just about honoring veterans. It's about honoring those who lost their lives. You see, veterans had the ability to come home. Memorial Day is a day we as a country come together to honor and remember our servicemen and women who answered America's call to service and who paid with the ultimate sacrifice. Memorial Day is a time for Americans as one body to stand up and say thank you. We remember you. We are grateful to you. We remember our fallen. We remember Lance Corporal Lawrence Robert Philippon, 22 years old, of West Hartford, who was taken from us on 8 May 2005 by enemy small arms fire while conducting combat operations in the vicinity of Al-Qaim, Iraq. He was assigned to the 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marine Regiment, 2nd Marine Division, 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. As a member of the Marine Corps Color Guard, Lance Corporal Philippon had carried the flag at the funeral for President Reagan. But his heart was in Iraq. Ray, his dad, said that his son had asked to be assigned to the front lines. He'd been begging them for a while. Even though he enjoyed the color guard, he really wanted to be in Iraq. That is where it is all happening, Ray Philippon said. Before they received the news, Lisa and Ray Philippon were feeling sad for parents who lost loved ones in war. Ray reflected his thoughts at the time. All day long, we were feeling guilty that our son was safe, and we were feeling bad for the other 1,600 moms that their kids were lost in Iraq. And we didn't even know our son had joined that club. It was Mother's Day and their 24th wedding anniversary when Ray and Lisa Philippon learned of Larry's heroic actions and ultimate sacrifice in Iraq. Lance Corporal Philippon is a graduate of Conard High School where he played hockey. He is a 24 service member from Connecticut who was killed in Iraq or Afghanistan since March of 2002. We remember. Thank you, Lance Corporal Philippon, and your fallen warrior brothers and sisters. We honor your loved ones, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, sons, daughters, friends. Every year, families of the fallen are joined together and bound by loss in a way most of us can't even imagine. But military families are something special, aren't they? Bereaved parents often become isolated after a tragic loss. Friends don't know what to say about a grief no words can touch. We don't have a word for a parent who has lost a child. Webster's or Oxford's can't define it. So these mothers and fathers of our military fallen call themselves Gold Star parents. Based in the tradition of the service flag that hung in homes during the World Wars, each blue star on the banner stood for a loved one overseas. Gold honored those never coming home. We remember and we thank you for your sacrifice. It's daunting, I know, when we think of the tremendous sacrifices survivors and veterans have made, physically and emotionally. How can we possibly say thanks? The best way to thank them is to honor their fallen, to care for their wounded brothers and sisters, and to safeguard their families. Our men and women who serve are an extraordinary selfless group. They fight as a team and as a family, and they look out for one another to their last dying breaths. Trust me when I say there is no better way to thank a veteran than to honor and respect their brethren. This has been the Wreaths Across America mission since 1992. We are proud to continue this mission today. What could possibly be good enough to say that would convey how truly grateful we are to those who had the courage to do what so many others could not and would not? There are no words, but there are actions. Take the time, not just for Memorial Day, but every day, and take a moment to say thank you to our fallen. For those who never left the battlefields, we must hold them up in our hometowns and honor their memories. Please say thank you to Lance Corporal Philippon and his family, and many like him. Please say thank you to our Gold Star families, and ask them to tell you about their loved one if they wish. We should spend time reflecting on their service and sacrifice, and live in gratitude each and every day for the precious gift they have given us. As a nation, we made a promise that must be kept. To honor our fallen, we must keep that promise. We keep these promises by strengthening the programs and services that our injured and our ill veterans rely on. We must ensure they and their caregivers are properly supported. We thank our veterans by fighting for them when they can't, by ensuring they and their survivors get the care they earned when they wrote a blank check, made payable up to and including their very lives. So please spend some extra time with your loved ones. Step back from the daily stresses and reflect on your freedoms that so many of our sons and daughters died to protect. I'm not asking you not to have a barbecue. I'm asking you to remember why you have the luxury and freedom we enjoy today. Thank you, and may God bless and keep our fallen, our veterans, active military, their families, And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you, Captain Sanborn, for those very insightful words. Words that we will certainly take to heart. I'd now like to introduce our mayor, our dynamic mayor, Sherry Cantor. She's been the mayor of our town since May of 2016. She served on the town council since 2004. She's been inducted into the Yukon Business Hall of Fame. She's been named a Malta Wonder Woman. She's been rated by Hartford Magazine as Best Community Leader. She's a lifelong resident of West Hartford, graduated from our own Hall High School, raised her family here, and she gives every ounce of her energy to serving our community. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for bringing us all together and for emceeing today and for all you do, for your service to the country and all you do every day to serve this community. I also want to reiterate a thank you to Renee McHugh for bringing us all together and making this happen. And I just want to give a round of applause for her because her work is remarkable. Congratulations to Mr. Danaher, our dual bronze star World War II veteran. We are so grateful to have you here today. Mr. Edelman, also we are so grateful for your service and for having you here today. Your stories are so important to us. It is a daunting and truly humbling task to address you all today. I think about my own grandfather, whose stone is here, World War I veteran, my dad, who was a World War II veteran, and my nephew, who currently serves in the U.S. Air Force. He's a captain in the U.S. Air Force. I want to thank Captain Sanborn for delivering an address that's very powerful today and makes us think throughout today why and every day why we are grateful to be who we're grateful for and why we are truly free. Reverend Dana Hallenbach, it's always amazing to see you and thank you for being here and for your many years of service to our community and our state. I also want to thank our town historian, who you're going to hear from in a little bit, Tracy Wilson, who's going to share a remarkable story with you. Our national anthem, was that amazing? Stephanie, you are amazing. And we will be enjoying taps by two Bristow middle school students as well. Thank you to our color guard. The town manager already had done that, but I want to give another thank you. And for Garrett Sheehan, our chair of our West Hartford Commission on Veterans Affairs, our whole commission, who many of you are here, and of course the American Legion, who is so important into all the veterans events that we do. And all the elected officials that have joined me here today, who Matt outlined. They're really important to make all of this happen as well and to serve this community. I want to share a meaningful story about 2nd Lieutenant Thomas Kelly Jr. It was written by Scott Altus and last year Memorial Day, and he said, "Lost but not forgotten, why this Memorial Day is different." The call came on Good Friday 2 months ago. They had found the plane, B-24 bomber, shot down over a remote Pacific Ocean Bay during World War II. One of 11 crew members on board was my relative. Through 5 years of research, our extended family had pieced together details of his last mission. Now we knew for certain where it ended, and the location of that loss could begin closing a wound that had been opened by my family 74 years before. The journey that would lead to this discovery started during a needed break from my own academic research on news coverage of wartime casualties. Entering monthly casualty data from World War II into a spreadsheet for statistical analysis was harder than I expected. Each number weighed heavier than the 4 or 5 keystrokes needed to enter it. Every digit represented individuals with stories and families and futures that they would never inhabit. Thousands and thousands of empty futures for every month of the war. I decided to spend part of Memorial Day 2013 learning what I could do about 2 of my relatives lost in that war. I knew so little about either of them that I had to ask my parents for their names. One of them was my mother's cousin, Tom Kelly Jr. His friends called him Tom. He was a bombardier on a plane that went down during mission during Japanese coastal base somewhere over New Guinea in 1944. That was all my family had ever been told. For many families, and definitely for ours, there had been painful silence around this loss that carried through the generations. In the case of those declared missing in action, today there are nearly 73,000 MIAs from World War II alone. You don't have a body that comes home, and often little information, so there's no closure. But as we began to find out about the circumstances of our relatives lost, just a fragment of information here, a new scrap of detail there, we found ourselves being pulled into his story in a deeper way, and it drew our family together. We were spread across several states and rarely had much to say to one another before, but each new discovery became an opportunity for us to connect and learn more about our shared history. Our success would not have been possible before the internet. There's so much serendipity involved. Behind it was all large numbers of military history buffs around the world who are willing to answer emails from complete strangers. They sometimes had very specific and usually arcane knowledge for us about things like the shape of engine cowlings and the dates of aircraft paint jobs. They graciously shared a sliver of what they knew, and that sliver was often absolutely critical for leading us one more step down the right path. This happened many, many times, and their generosity continues to amaze me. When I got that call on Good Friday from Project Recover, I hoped the news would be encouraging, but I didn't expect to hear that they had found the plane. The Easter weekend that followed will be remembered by Tom's extended family as a time of exhilaration and of grieving. The grieving really surprised us. Our relative died a long time ago. Most of us never knew him, and the circumstances of his loss were by then familiar after 5 years of research. But up to that weekend, he was a face in an old picture, a name on a memorial stone. That weekend, thanks to Project Recover, Tom's family saw images of his grave for the first time right where it's always been, 200 feet beneath the surface of Hansa Bay. And we're grateful for Tom's sacrifice, which is now again a living memory of his extended family. Grateful for all of those people across the globe we've never met, people who helped us understand and embrace what Memorial Day is and what it is for. And we are grateful that one empty future will never be forgotten. Stories like this one about the sacrifices that our nation's women and men made and currently make during times of service and war are vitally important to us today as they make our history. It is this history that provides the freedoms and liberties that allow us to live as Americans today. They also represent the true cost of loss and sacrifice for not just the soldier, but for the whole family. The students you'll hear from today are telling us a story that we should have heard a long time ago. I hope you listen because this is very, very unique. They taught us about our own history, adding the first enslaved person onto our Veterans Memorial in the Revolutionary War. I will let our historian explain a little bit more about that. But he now is among all of those who we remember. He is now memorialized in this sacred place. We think of him and all of the soldiers that have paid the ultimate sacrifice and their family and their friends and community who feel that loss today. What can we do? We can remember and we can share, research and learn about these stories, and we can let our actions and deeds be worthy of their sacrifice. God bless the veterans that are serving. All of you have lost people in the war. God bless the state of America, the United States of America, the state of Connecticut, the town of West Hartford, and all of you for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor, for your moving remarks. Before I introduce our town historian and two special students, I did want to bring you special greetings from our Congressman, John Larson, who marched with us in the parade today. As you can imagine, with his position, he has many, many commitments on Memorial Day, but it was great to have him march with us, and he extends his very best to you all. As well as one of our counselors, Mary Fay, who couldn't be with us today, but certainly wanted me to extend a greetings and a hello to all of you. So thank you to both of those elected officials who serve our community so well and so proudly. I would now like to introduce Dr. Tracy Wilson, who is our town historian, a long time and very popular history teacher in town. And Ms. Wilson has two very special Renbrook students with her who are going to talk about, as the mayor described, a very, very special project and dedication that they've been working on. Ms. Wilson?
Am I good? Thank you. I'm grateful to Captain Joseph Sanborn of the Civil Air Patrol for his project. His goal is to spread a message about the importance of remembering fallen heroes, honoring those who serve, and teaching children about the sacrifices made by veterans and their families to preserve our freedoms. That is what Landon and Hannah and I are here to do as well. Today, we have the chance to acknowledge a man who died in war 243 years ago, whose name had been lost to history. Just 5 days ago, the name of an enslaved man, Prout, was engraved into the Revolutionary War slab right over there. His name joins 26 men from this town who gave their lives in the American Revolution. As the town historian, I believe that the addition of his name to the War Memorial is a big step in telling the history of our town. It is important that we witness and recognize people who were enslaved and lived here, but whose names have all but been lost to the historical record. The Witness Stones Project West Hartford seeks to witness and recognize enslaved people from our town through putting stones in the ground, now at the old Center Cemetery right up the road. At the end of this week, 10 more stones will join the 2 that are already there, representing the men and women who were held against their will here. I hope you can attend one of the 4 ceremonies that will be held on May 29th, 30th, and 31st. On this day, we remember those who gave their last full measure of devotion. We appreciate the town council who supported putting Prout's name on the memorial. Just 2 weeks ago, they heard from Renbrook's 5th graders about Prout and about black soldiers at Fort Ticonderoga in 1776. The town council helped the process to get his name engraved here. I encourage you to look at his name after the ceremony. To really understand our town's military history and the town leaders, some of whom were also slaveholders, we need to understand as much as we can about the lives of those they enslaved. Today, as the town historian and representing the Noah Webster House and West Hartford Historical Society, I join my colleagues and Witness Stone project directors Liz Devine and Denise DeMello to bring you 2 5th-grade students from Renbrook School in West Hartford. They will tell you more about a man named Prout, enslaved by John Whitman Jr. at 208 North Main Street. This Veterans War Memorial stands on the site of the West Division of Hartford's 1st and 2nd meeting houses. My guess is that Prout would have walked on this ground. Over the last 6 weeks, as part of the Witness Stones West Hartford project and their Renbrook Social Studies, Language Arts, and Art classes, these 5th graders have been studying the art of Titus Kaphar, colonial history, the history of Fort Ticonderoga and the Revolutionary War, the history of this town, the West Division of Hartford, and the particular history of Prout and John Whitman Jr. They have thought much about what a memorial means and understand the gravity of what we do here today. Let me introduce to you the 2 Renbrook students, Landon Schlesinger and Hannah White.
Hi, my name is Landon Schlesinger, and this is Hannah White, and we are 5th grade students at Renbrook School.
We have been studying about enslaved individuals and their slaveholders who lived in West Hartford during the 1700s.
We focused on an enslaved man named Prue. Prue was enslaved by John Whitman Jr.
We learned from church records and other primary source documents that Prue died at Fort Ticonderoga in 1776. We can reasonably infer that Prue fought in the Revolutionary War.
3 other West Hartford men died at Fort Ticonderoga in 1776, within months of Prue. Their names are John Cowell, Cornelius Flowers, and John Steele Jr.
We feel that it is important that Prue's name be included on the Revolutionary War Memorial, as we want to honor his service in helping to secure our freedom.
We feel that this country made a wrong decision to have enslaved individuals, and this is a small way to help us to honor the contributions they made to our communities.
We are proud that our class petitioned in the town council to put Prue's name on the war memorial. Thank you.
Dr. Wilson, Landon, Hannah, thank you so much for your work. Thank you for all that you've done for our community. I would now like everyone to stand. Color guards, please bring your units to attention and present arms. We're now going to hear taps performed by a daughter and father team, Camille Townswick of Bristow Middle School and her father Don. I will now ask Reverend Hallenbeck to come forward and deliver the benediction.
Let us bless the Lord and depart with renewed commitment and strength to bring about peace and liberty for all people, to remember those who have sacrificed for that cause, and to comfort and support those who this day continue in that task. In my benediction, I use the American Sign Language symbol for I love you. It's a reminder that God loves us. These men and women who sacrificed certainly loved us, and they were called to love each other. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you with favor and grant you his peace. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. So that brings today's ceremony to a close. I'd like to thank and acknowledge everyone who prepared for this event, who set it up, everyone who participated. I'd ask us all to keep Captain Sandbird's words in our minds today. Yes, let's go forth and enjoy quality time with family and friends, but please remember what today is all about. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day.